Thanks PlayStation for sponsoring today's video. Alright, so today we'll take a look at the top tips and tricks you should know before jumping into Death Stranding 2. This video assumes that you at least know some of the basics, because today we're gonna take a look at what you can do to fare better in combat, on higher difficulties, and also get some of the best items in the game. So without further ado, let's jump right in. Coming up to number 1, dropkicking your way to success isn't just possible in Death Stranding 2, it's a whole way of life. Just sprint, double jump, and follow with a mid-air circle, and you'll be one-shotting enemies left and right, even on the highest difficulty. Or you can use R1 for a body slam instead. That one is easier to angle if enemies don't give you enough wind-up. Now, if you're going to do this, you're going to want to also use the quick step. This can be the difference between running off unscathed and getting absolutely punished for your insolence before Sam even has a chance to sit up. The quick step, hold down either L2 or R2 and then press X to quick step either towards left or right, depending which trigger button you hold. Alternatively, you can also hold both triggers and press X to quick step straight ahead. This will ensure Sam is going to be a much harder target to hit. However, if the enemy does connect, holding the trigger automatically turns that into a block, meaning that your health bar is actually not getting damaged. Instead, it's going to be your consciousness meter, which is indicated by the yellow bar. In this case, that one can refill literally a second later if the enemy doesn't perform any other actions against you. This brings us to number 4, the perfect parry / instant takedown mechanic via the Strand. Not only is the rope great at tying up Christmas presents, but also to Agent 47 your enemies in broad daylight. So just hold it with L2 and then press R2 just as an enemy is about to land an attack on Sam. From here, I recommend following up with an R2 once again instead of circle. Not only is this going to be quicker, but it also avoids the unpleasant situation of Sam accidentally using his fists instead of instantaneously taking down the target. It also has a small iframe window right at the start of the animation, which you can use tactically when surrounded by many enemies. However, keep in mind, the moment Sam takes the Strand back, you'll still want to immediately quick step dodge out of the harm's way. Coming up to number 5, do you know what's stronger than the strongest weapon? Probably the briefcase it's been in. Once again, hitting enemies with a container, be it in close range or throwing it, will pretty much put even the most seasoned soldier to sleep. To carry a container in either hand, you will need to have it physically on the ground and then lift it by holding L2 or R2 when near it. Sam can even carry 2 at a time in both hands. Throwing it is a bit trickier but still possible, as you're going to have to let go of the trigger button right in the middle of a melee swing. So while holding a container with R2, press circle to swing and then immediately let go of the R2 button to send the briefcase flying in whichever direction you are facing. And the same goes for the other hand, assuming that you are holding 2 at the same time. At number 6, a lot of the weapons, even the ones starting at level 2, oftentimes feature 2 firing modes, such as the early on automatic assault rifles and shotguns. You can see this from the item preview and by pressing up on the D-pad, which in this case lets us swap to a grenade launcher. What's great is that each firing mode has its own separate ammo, on top of the fact that grenade launchers are extremely strong. I've been pretty much playing on brutal difficulty most of the game, and it's been a blast to use this. No pun intended. Now moving on to number 7, you're entering and exiting vehicles the wrong way, especially when it comes to trucks. Some of the early on options are notorious at this, but there's a much longer animation that Sam has to perform when entering or exiting a vehicle from either of its sides, as opposed to entering just from the front, which is going to give you this quick seat lift animation instead. Same goes for exiting. Tilt the analog stick forward instead of either of the sides to make the exiting animation much quicker. Sometimes you may be in a hurry or in an enemy base and you really want to spare those couple of seconds. And while we're on the subject of vehicle tips, for the bike, you're going to want to pull back on the left analog stick whenever you're going on especially rough terrain or if there's a lot of obstacles in front of you. This is going to let you perform a wheelie, which helps a ton with the uneven terrain when you don't really have a highway to go at full speed. This brings us to number 8. You can tie up your whole cargo to hold it in place much better and give Sam a lot more stability, especially when overburdened. To do so, you're going to want to hold triangle to pull down your whole backpack right in front of you. From here, select the strand from your item wheel and then hold it up with L2. If you're close to the backpack, you're going to notice a new prompt in front of you: tie up all of the containers with R2. And what's great about this is that any other container that you add at the top of the pile will automatically go under the rope as well. In fact, even taking away a few of the containers will still not remove the whole rope, so it's worth using it until better options open up later on. At number 9, don't forget that if you want the highest scores for delivery missions, you will want to protect the contents of your packages. But to protect the contents, you're going to want to protect the containers in the first place. So carrying a few container repair sprays is always a good idea. You can easily select them from the menu wheel, then hold them up with L2 and aim behind you with R2 to spray and repair all of the containers on your back. But also remember that you can use Timefall shelters. These automatically disperse the same repairing benefits without consuming anything you have. Plus, early on, Timefall shelters help a ton in BT areas since they have an auto deterrent against BTs. Plus, your canteen also gets automatically refilled. And since we were talking about unwanted zones, the next tip is to plan your routes accordingly. You can easily pull this off by holding square when on the map and then pressing square again to draw lines all the way connecting to your destination. This way you don't have to stay on the map menu for too long or even enter any menu. Plus, this is going to give you a much better route if you want to avoid certain areas, like for example flooded rivers, BT zones, or even enemy encampments. But let's keep on going, because increasing your reputation with the various outposts and people in the game by doing delivery missions for them is one of the best ways to get a ton of porter levels, increasing SAM stats, but also getting some of the best items in the game. You can easily check out what reward you're about to get from increasing your reputation with a certain person by heading over right here in the corpus menu, going to data banks, people, and then scrolling down to the person or location you want to see. For example, in this case, Western Observatory gives us an upgraded battle skeleton, but pretty much every location gives you something. It can be a better weapon, a better tool, an upgrade to your backpack like extra containers, or even extra attachables to your vehicles. Everything that's best in the game will be tied to these locations, and every star extra you get from them will progressively give you a better of that type of reward. Sometimes even cool, unique new gear. So in this case, you're going to want to pay attention to these locations, and to increase your reputation with them, you will want to complete delivery missions. Now, you can definitely take on orders, however, early on you're not going to find too many of them, and instead what we're gonna do is go here to the shared locker and use the lost cargo instead. You're likely going to see tons of it even in the early stages. Reason for that is because early on players may not have enough carry capacity, so what they end up doing with the excess cargo, or the lost one in this case, is they end up putting it in some of these shared lockers, either at facilities or post boxes that they create out into the open world. And what we can do is that we can then take these, bring them to their destination, which is going to benefit both us as well as the players who entrusted us to bring them there. In this case, we can see which lost cargo belongs to each location by paying attention to the name as well as the icon right in the item preview. That's going to be the easiest way to do so. But guess what? It goes a step beyond that, pretty much eliminates 99% of the risk. Because very early on, we also get to unlock the Magellan, which is this massive ship over here. And this lets us instantaneously travel to any of the previously connected bases and facilities we've connected to the Chiral network. So in this case, we can load up everything on the ship, including our vehicle, and immediately fast travel over there. From here, it's just a quick travel straight to the facility and delivering everything in. We've pretty much eliminated all possibilities of getting the containers damaged, and we also get the absolute maximum rank, which ensures we get very quick XP with them, and also, well, star rating and that item as we complete them. So this is pretty much what I've been doing non-stop to get these at 4-5 stars and get some of the best items early on. And guess what? You can easily verify what each container or facility has in its shared locker right from the item preview. So if you hover over a location or a post box, you can just press X and you're going to see the contents of it. So if there's any lost cargo over there that benefits you, you can definitely go ahead and grab it. You're going to want to definitely make use of this to level up quick locations, especially ones that give you some of the most desirable upgrades. A video on that will follow up really soon. But in the meantime, what you should know is that if you max out the reputation with some of these locations, you will get extra benefits. Some of their best rewards are tied to these, but you also get access to the shelter of the facility. So it's not going to be like always going in and seeing the interior, but it can let you, for example, sleep for the night, pass time, and also replenish your stamina. But with that out of the way, let's go over even more tips and tricks to help you in your journeys. You can go ahead and activate your auto drag light by just pressing left on the D-pad to automatically turn it on. This is going to help a ton, especially during nighttime or if you're in very dark places. Just keep in mind that if you do so and enemies are close by, they will have a much easier time to spot you. Next is that Sam can actually sleep anywhere there's at least some flat terrain. You can do this by just holding down square, assuming that there's no enemies nearby. In this case, it's also going to force save your game without having to actually go into the save menu. But besides this, you also get a number of other actions. One is that you can immediately go to sleep by holding square once again. In this case, it's going to give you some extra benefits like replenishing your blood. It's also going to replenish a bit of your stamina, and you're going to notice that some of the time also passes, which also has its advantages and disadvantages. Like, for example, you will see that the weather also changes. So for example, if an area is about to get flooded, this is also something that can happen. Plus, things and structures left out in the open can get damaged by the timefall during the time that you were actually asleep and made the time pass by. Next is that you can find other porters out into the open world, which is such a cool aspect, and they also give you gifts, but only momentarily. So whenever you find them and they greet you, after like a couple of seconds, they will typically extend their arms and give you one of their containers. In this case, you only have a brief moment to accept that package. Otherwise, it doesn't seem that they offer it again, at least not during the same occurrence. So just pay attention to it, accept it with triangle, and then who knows, maybe you get something useful out of it. Another one that was also part of the previous game is that you can instantly take down all of the BTs and clear out the BT area, plus get a ton of chiral crystals by letting yourself get dragged into the tar, which is going to spawn you in a boss fight. That's usually quite not difficult. I mean, even on the brutal difficulty over here, it didn't take too long for me to take it down, as long as you use some of those blood grenades, and even like some of the ammo that you get will get imbued so that it also deals damage to the BTs now. So in this case, once it's done, the whole area clears up, it's much easier to navigate, and now we can get all of these chiral crystals from the ground. Nice solution if you need a lot of those quick. And on a similar note, don't drive for too long into the tar, because eventually you're going to lose your vehicle as it's getting submerged in it. And in this case, I lost so much of the cargo. Good thing that you can easily restore to the last save point. Another tip is that you can easily see how many attachment points are still left on your inventory right here from the fabricate equipment screen. So for example, how many attachment points to the suit you still have left, or how many inventory slots you still have for the utility or grenade pouches. In this case, it's going to be indicated by these points over here, and you can see and make it easier for you whenever you're crafting new items or swapping them around. Another one is that you can easily repair your vehicles, not by repairing them at any station, but instead just changing the color. Literally, that's going to bring it back to pristine state right out of the gate. Also, it goes without saying that if you want to pick things rapidly, just hold down triangle and Sam will pretty much pick everything in the vicinity that's worth picking. Another one is make use of the towers. This is going to give you so much information. Lay down a tower or use the ones that somebody else left behind, and especially so, this is going to reveal all of the information about all of the enemies and all of the containers inside of an enemy outpost. Very easy if you're about to do some combat. And finally, another cool aspect about leveling up is that you're also going to unlock A-Pass enhancements, which is basically kind of like a skill tree that progressively unlocks in different areas of gameplay depending what you do. So for example, if you do a lot of stealth, a lot of combat, a lot of exploration, helping out and so on, you're going to get more unlocks and levels in that specific area of gameplay, which is also going to unlock more of these bonuses over here that you can go ahead and spend memory points on to grab them. In this case, you can have some amazing options, like for example, there's a passive over here that automatically detects and reveals if there's enemies nearby without me having to constantly press the scan button. But there are many more that give me bonuses to like ranged weapons, getting more resources, more likes when helping people, so on and so forth. All worth it to pay attention to right from here. And this pretty much concludes today's video. Again, huge shout out to PlayStation for this early copy of Death Stranding 2. Totally check the game out as always, and I'll see you guys in the next video.